Hello, Reborners. My name is Karen, and this is Making Dolls with Karen. We are back with Jenny, and she has had her second seal, and oh my goodness, she feels like she's thick. She's had two scratchy seals, and she feels very, very much like she's got lots and lots of sealer on her. Her enhancements came through the seal pretty good. I just heated her with the heat gun. You saw me do it, and then after I turned off the camera, I put the sealer on her and just sealed her. And it just came out really well. And her nails still show, well, this one has lighter color on the toes than the fingers for some reason. I don't know why. But not every crease made it through. But that's okay. I'm not a big fan of creasing anyway. The most important creases are lightly done. So that's good enough for me. We're ready to put layers on her. We're going to start with 05. And we're going to put one good layer on her. And we're going to see if we can dry it a little bit. And then we're going to see if we can put a second coat on without harming or somehow taking away from the effects of the first coat. Get out these sponges and see if I have enough to even do it. They just I go through sponges like crazy, like there's just no tomorrow. Anyway, we're gonna get her covered here just in a few minutes. I've shook up the paint, so it should be okay. I hear my dog, I think. Oh well, anyway, we're just gonna give her some on her eyes and her nose and all the places where we don't think the sponge can reach. We're gonna cover them first. And after we do that, around the ears, behind the ears, all that stuff. Now we're going to take our sponge that also has paint on it, and we're going to dab even over the same spots that we just did. Because the idea isn't to paint with a brush, it's to paint with a sponge. But the brush has to get some of it. But there's a stopping point where you want as much as possible to be covered by the sponge. So I just always go over the parts that I just did with the brush. Anyway, there's going to be some that don't get this paint, but it's going to even out. But it's going to make those spots that I just brushed it on look more natural. Brushing it on does not look natural, because that's when we tear our sponge too. It gives you a much more natural paint layer that you wouldn't get with a square sponge. The square sponge tends to want to leave little square shapes on your doll's skin. And I used to pounce it back off with a square sponge too, a torn sponge too, but ever since, I've been using them like this, you can tell the way it swells up and stuff. Not even the whole sponge touches the doll. So you're not going to get that many square shapes on your doll. We're just dabbing off extra now. We're not really putting on paint. And even this one here, see, it's virtually dry, so it's not going to put anything really on her head. Now, if you didn't have any if you had just put the paint on, you could make a little square shape on your doll with this one. Anyway, we're going to set her down and let her sort of dry on her own here when we do the arms and the legs. Oh, I hear my sister's up. She's not feeling well. She went back to bed. I'm going to check on her. Y'all give me a minute. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
You feel better?
Feel better.
For when you lay down?
I'm rocking.
Oh, okay, well, I'm recording. I just wanted you to know.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, you're all right. Yep, she's better. That's all that matters. Little flecks sometimes in your paint. One thing that happened when I was baking Jenny was she stuck to the liner, and it made a little, on one of her heels, it made a little funny looking patch of, it just made a pattern, I guess, is what I'm trying to say, on her skin of her heel. I don't think it'll be noticeable because it's the heel. But you know, you put it in the, I put mine up like this, up against the side, and the heel sometimes sticks. This too, but it doesn't matter. But she stuck a little bit. And I was just checking on where my sister was. She doesn't like to be in the room when I'm recording. But she came in here probably to get something to eat, and I'm recording, so she went back in her room. Anyway, I'm going to try with the heat gun to put 2 really good layers on her in a row before we bake again. And I think that will work. We could even do a third if we wanted to. I think Jenny might get a scratch as well. Let me grab my drink. My throat is drier than sandpaper. A little bit of tea helps out. Okay, here we go. Yeah, her nails stayed real good, I thought. I guess the toenails were just not as dark to begin with. Is why they don't look like they're as colored as the fingernails do. Sometimes the paint gets very translucent, especially if you don't put it on kind of thick. And well, it looked dark to me, let's put it that way. It looked dark when I put it on, but when I see it after it's fully baked and everything, it's a lot lighter. But that always happens, so we may just have to apply it again, that's all. I keep thinking about, I'm over-explaining things, but I also keep thinking about, what if somebody just Googled or something, how do you make a reborn doll? And one of my videos came up, and they go to it, and they're watching it, and I'm not explaining anymore because I've done it 25,000 times on my other 25,000 videos, and I'm tired of explaining it, and I'm going, well, everybody knows what I'm doing. I'm just going to do it now, you know. And then they don't understand. So that's why I over-explain. So if it seems like I'm over-explaining, that's why I'm doing it. Plus, sometimes we forget, you know, we'll go, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. You know, it's been so long since she said it out loud that I just forgot it, you know. But I don't know. I just feel like better safe than sorry. It takes only moments, and otherwise it would be awkward silence if I'm not talking. And I have this need to talk anyway. When I used to sit over here and make dolls and I wasn't making videos, I talked anyway. You can ask my sister. She said, who are you talking to? I said, oh, just myself. Because it's just like, you know, you're just sitting over here idly, quietly making dolls, and you just start talking out loud. I don't know. But it takes care of my need to talk to make videos too, so kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not that my videos are just incredible, but you know, they are instructional. If they're nothing else, they're instructional. having so many pieces of, 5 different pieces here to have to hit with the heat gun. That's going to take a little while. I just want to get her a little closer to dry, that's all. I don't want to really try to, cure the paint or anything like that. You'll never do it. I mean, well, you could ever do it. I'm not saying it's impossible. A long time ago, when I first started doing dolls, it was common for people to heat their dolls with the heat gun. And other people use things like their ovens. And then they decided, oh, it's too dangerous to do that. You should get one of these new wave ovens or one of these other kinds of ovens, because it can be exclusively used for just dolls, and you don't have to worry about if you cook food in it behind the doll that you're going to get some kind of vinyl poisoning or something. And so people started getting those, well, different kinds of little ovens, not always a new wave oven, but some other kind. And so now people have went away from heating their dolls with a heat gun, because it's an uneven amount of heat. You can't be sure every 100% of the surface of this arm got heated with that heat gun. I don't see how you'd do it, and it would just take forever. Each portion of the arm, the entire arm, needs to be heated to 260 degrees for 8 minutes minimum to cure. But holding it in different spots of the arm, I don't know that you'd get the whole thing, if you know what I'm talking about. It would seem too hard. But I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to get her closer to dry, so when I put the second layer on, I didn't have to go bake her in between. So here we go. I didn't take no time. It's like a souped up hair dryer. You would definitely burn yourself on this if you was trying to dry your hair, unless you held it way back here or something. But her vinyl gets hot. It actually gets hot, and you can feel it on your fingers down here where you're trying to hold the head, that your fingers are getting hot. So I know it's working. I just don't know how much to do. And it takes away that shiny look that means they're still wet. When I know you can't see this particular enhancement, but you can see where it's wet. The reason you can see it is it's shinier. See, like her arm looks a little bit shiny right up in here, in these little portions right here. And after I hit it with this gun, it's not going to look shiny anymore. That didn't take very long. Now, they're definitely not cured, but see how hot this is. I've been hanging it right up here on my little basket, so it's handy to get. And if it's real hot, I don't want to hang it there. It might melt the basket. Definitely not cured, but you don't feel bad about putting another layer on now, because I often have felt that the second layer's not doing any good because the first layer's too wet and it's coming off. That's what will happen if you put wet on top of wet. I know from experience and seeing a color like red that you put on a lot, and you want to put more red on, but you're taking off the red you already had on instead of putting more on, and it's becoming lighter instead of darker. And with this 05 is so light anyway, you can barely tell. And this isn't even the lightest color that you can get to put on your doll. That 08 is super light. Tea is good. So, putting on a darker color was my way to not have to put so many layers of that other color on. I didn't want a baby so pale they look like, I don't know, peachy. They look peachy colored. And babies don't look peachy colored, and they don't look pink. And those are two colors that don't really, really belong on your baby. If I was doing, some of those paint lines don't have colors like lips, nails, and blush. They have peach blush or strawberry blush or wine blush. I'd pick one of the darker colors for my blush because those really light colors, they don't look so natural. Babies are not pink. I keep saying that because I know there's people out there using pink. Now, if you've been using pink and it's coming out okay with you, you keep on doing that. But I can't mix a color that looks natural on a doll that's anywhere in the range of pink. You've seen my blush. It looks like wine in a jar. It still comes out peachy pink looking on the doll, but real pink would be so pink that you wouldn't even be able to stand it. It would be pink like baby pink, and you don't want that. I mean, I don't anyway. Boy, that's full of paint. It's way, way full of paint. It's running down this doll. I got to dab it off for. As much as I don't even want to put any more sealer on this doll, I feel like I might need to, because this crunchy sealer that writes on so good, all the sealers, they have good sides and bad sides. Let's put it that way. And this real crunchy sealer you can write on so good. If you want to do pencil hair, it's the kind you got to use. And you can pencil that hair right on this doll. So simple, so simple. It'll write super good on the doll. But it also makes the doll's texture very rough. And when you're trying to put hair in, it's much harder to put the needle through. Not that the needle won't go through, because it will. It's just not as fluid and seamless and simple feeling when you put the needle through a crunchy head. And not only that, sometimes it'll leave right where the needle punctures the head. It'll leave this little white. It's the sealer. Right where it breaks the sealer to go through, you'll see a little white hole. You'll see the hole sometimes. Not every time, but if it's really thick. And now she's had, let's see, she was sealed at the attic when I still lived there with thick, heavy sealer. And then I sealed her again with that thick, heavy sealer because I could feel spots that felt like they needed to be redone. And then after she came out, I still felt a spot, but that time I only hit the spots. I didn't even do the whole doll. So that one's not so bad. But a few spots have like 2 full layers. A couple of spots have 1 layer. There's a spot or 2 that has 3 layers. And if I decide I want to make her smoother and I put a layer of this smoother on her, she's going to have another layer. But she'll feel less rough. And over time, I noticed I had a couple of dolls that really felt scratchy. These were dolls in my own collection. I used to have like 8 dolls, something like that, 6 or 8 dolls, and they were my collection. And I couldn't afford any more at the moment, so that's all I had. So I had all these outfits for my babies to wear. I got them each a long outfit, like overalls and a shirt or something, some kind of long outfit like that. And then they had a short kind of outfit that was maybe a pair of shorts and a little top, or some little onesie dress or something for the girls. I don't know. It was just different, a little shorter outfit. And then they had uh, their onesie outfit. I mean, I had different outfits for different things. I was really obsessed with dressing, and I got over that real quick. But anyway, and then they had like a sleeper. They each had a sleeper that they could wear. And if I decided that day it was sleeper day, I'd change all the dolls' clothes to sleepers. And if the next day I might decide, well, it's onesie day, so I would switch them all to onesies. And I did that because I was bored mostly. And I'd take each doll down and I'd change their clothes and I'd hold them for a minute like they were a real baby. I was super lonely and bored. And anyway, so after that, uh, doing that for a while, the roughness of the doll felt much, much less. It's the clothes rubbing across it. It's the uh, handling it. It's all those things. It kind of wears down the highest bumps, I guess you'd call it. Not that they felt smooth after that, because they didn't. They just felt less rough. And you know, there's probably, just like with any other rough thing you apply, uh, some of it is a little bumpier in spots than other, and that's what would wear down, I guess, those higher bumps. I guess you'd call it. It's getting wet. And she became, or he, or whichever doll it was, became less bumpy. They were still plenty rough. I don't know how to explain it. But people have equated the texture on a doll to sandpaper. And I can see where they think that, but it's certainly not. If you had a piece of sandpaper and you felt to the doll and felt to the sandpaper, they're not the same. But when you just have the doll and you're going, oh my, it's rough, I've never had a doll like that before, they go, it feels like sandpaper, And people tend to not like the rough sealers, but any sealer that's worth its salt is going to be rough. And I don't know how to explain it. I bought some Beatrice Clementi sealer. It is extreme rough. And not only that, it sets up on its own. It doesn't cure, but it dries completely hard and crunchy within minutes of you getting the jar open. You got the jar sitting right here in front of you, and you're trying to get some out and do your doll, and it's turning sticky and hard as soon as you're getting it out almost. It's that fast. It's fast. And it makes the wet, oh, I can't even get my words today. It makes the wet sealer almost get like boogers, the consistency of a booger. You're picking boogers off your doll. And I just couldn't. I couldn't anymore. I thought the sealer was very good. It put a very good seal on your doll. But all that self-setting stuff it does it too quick to me. And it's very expensive. So I'm not going to say switch sealers if you're using it, because, well, if you're using it, you obviously like it. But if you haven't started picking a sealer yet, I'm going to recommend that you either go with Gemini or possibly some other brand I haven't used that I can't really, I have used Gemini. I would recommend to people who want to root hair the Pratt sealer. But the problem with the Pratt sealer is you can't get it anymore. They quit making it. I lucked up on a lady who had over 100 jars of it. I don't know why. I guess right when they put it on clearance or something, because they did it to the rest of the Genesis paint they had. They put it all on clearance where they could just move it out real quick. And sometimes a whole jar of paint that used to be $11 or $12 is now $1.99. So if you bought your paint for, let's say, you bought 100 jars at $1.99 with the intention of reselling it on eBay or something, then you'd have a lot of jars of paint. But she had more than that. She had colors. She had thinning medium. She had a lot of the different paints that they put out under the Pratt label. And now see how shiny that looks? Even this piece right here looks shiny. I know you can see it because it's still slightly wet. But when I hit it with the heat gun, it's not going to be so wet. But anyway, she had bought just tons of that paint. And she advertised, and I asked her, I said, how many jars of that do you have? Because I remember when I was using it when it was readily available that I liked it. And she said, a lot. I don't know how many, but a lot. So I asked her, did she have, she first told me she had 50 jars. So me and my friend went in together, half and half, and we got a mixture of jars of about 25 jars of sealer and about 25 jars of thinning medium. And then we each paid $50. She wanted $2 a bottle for it. So that's what we paid, $2 a bottle. And she shipped it for free, I think. And we divided up the bottles, and then she had more. She advertised that she had more. She said, oh, I had more. That's what I had on hand at the moment was a lot of 50 jars. I said, well, would you have 50 more? And she said, yes. I said, I want mostly sealer. I don't want that much thinning medium. And she sent me for $2 again. So we each ended up with 100 jars of mixed thinning medium and sealer, and we each paid $100. So it came out pretty good for us, and we liked the deal very much. Let's put it that way. And I've been using it for a long time now, and it's a much thinner, smoother, creamy, very creamy. You open up the jar of Gemini where you poured it in there and mixed it up with the thinning medium and everything, and it looks glassy almost. It's still white colored, but it's glassy looking. But this other one looks like almost like cream in a jar. It's just creamy. But anyway, let me hit her with this heat gun real quick, and so we can get her in to bake. Well, let's hear that. Well, hopefully that's somebody that wants a doll. If it's one of them advertisements, again, I'm going to be mad. I need to be selling dolls, not looking at advertisements. Order update? I have the heat gun right here, and it's saying tracking is available on your heat gun. That is weird. I already have the heat gun. Okay, whatever. That is just great. I am loving this heat gun. I highly recommend you get one. Just go on eBay. I'm taking the advice of the person who I watched do it, and pick the cheapest one you can find. They all heat up. I mean, a hairdryer might even do it. What you're trying to do is dry the doll, not heat set it. And because you would never be able to heat set it with a heat gun. And it's not necessary to do it if you're about to pop them in the oven. But if you want to go back and put a few more enhancements on their face, whatever's on there needs to be completely dry. You don't need any sort of wetness at all, and she is just, she doesn't even feel cold. You know how when you paint something and it's a little bit wet still, but it's so tiny bit wet that you can't even really feel the wet that much. All you feel is cold. I can't even feel that. In between her toes is looking a little mucky. I'm going to just clean that up a little. This is what happens when you do multiple layers sometimes. You get stuff between the toes. And it's important to take care of it. It's coming off. If you can see the tip of this toothpick, you're going to see it's a little bit dark colored. And we don't want that mucky, dirty, baby's been crawling in the mud look. Muddy feet. Ugh, I can't stand it. Ugh. And we don't want it on their hands either. That's one of the tips that you're putting either too much paint on your doll or too many layers or something, is you have dirty hands and feet. That's one of your first signs. Or little spots on the doll that are darker. I dare not put a third coat. I don't think I am going to, because to me it looks like she's darker by drying her in between. The neighbors are bumping the walls. I can hear them bumping against, right behind this wall right here beside me. It is someone else's kitchen wall. And there are apartments behind ours. And I'm as far as you can go in this apartment without being in the other apartment. I can hear somebody banging against the walls. Okay, where's my little paintbrush now? Oh, here it is. I'm going to touch up her nails a little bit. It's not necessary to dry every single thing before you put it in the oven. The reason I dried her last time when I finished the enhancements was I was going to put sealer all over her, so it needed to be dry all over. But this time I'm just doing the toes and, just nails. So I don't need to dry the nails to put her in the oven. The oven will do that, And, yeah, they're making a lot of noise. But I did want to dry her vinyl because I wanted to see how she looked before I decided if I was going to try to put a third coat of paint on her. And I'm not, because I think two this way seems like more than two the way I was doing it before. Because the paint got completely dry and, oh man, they are really bumping the walls. Sometimes you can't really tell what they're doing. They might be moving furniture. You don't know what they're doing. I like even applying the nail color, if it's dry when you do it, not wet because you just painted her, but dry, then it's going to take better and do better. And I have a feeling that Jenny's going to have a beautiful skin tone because we use the heat gun. And if you're going to be touching around on your doll like this a whole lot, you're going to want to dry her a little bit because you don't want any paint. I've had paint come off the doll on my fingers before. And not usually, but sometimes, and it comes off on the table a little bit. Otherwise, you wouldn't get incidental marks. Well, this is from the sponge. This raggy sponge, when it lays down, see, it makes a mark on the table. And you don't have to worry about this dry paint. Dry paint's not coming off on your doll. It's only wet paint. So, anyway, after we get her nails all done, I might hit her lips again too. They look a little pale. And we'll get her in for a real bake. And then when she comes out, we'll move on to the next color. I dare not even try to dry her enough to change colors. Oh, wow. I just can't, I can't even comprehend what they're doing that makes that kind of sound. It sounds like real heavy bumps, like maybe, like, for example, if you were trying to carry a couch and you kept dropping your end, and and it's hitting the floor real hard and making a vibration and everything. That's a trade-off when you live in an apartment. You don't have to do any upkeep or any maintenance, or you don't have to have a yard to have to cut or anything like that. But you're trading off for people living close to you and noise. Uh, Luckily, we got a section of the apartment complex that's less noisy. The back is always less noisy than the front, and we know that because, well, this is the fourth apartment I've lived in down here. When I first moved down here, I lived in the one-bedroom building, uh, and it was pretty quiet over there because it's mostly either couples or elderly people that live alone. And I was downstairs, but I had a neighbor upstairs that was a couple, but oh, my goodness, she babysat her grandson, and he ran through the apartment constantly. And that little boy could run. I'm telling you, he sounded like an elephant. He ran so hard. But then my sister moved in with me. I have to take my glasses off for this. Then my sister moved in with me. We needed a 2-bedroom apartment. And they put us on the back of this building in the apartment that's right next door to where we're living now. And we lived there for several months. And it became, at that time, Walmart was not delivering groceries here in our small town. They were in larger towns, but not here. And so we had to go and get our own groceries, bring them upstairs. We couldn't do it. We could not do it. It was too hard. And we asked for a downstairs apartment. And we got moved to the front of the building, the same building, downstairs. Loved the location of our apartment. Loved the apartment. But it was very, very noisy. We had 3 or 4 different neighbors upstairs. People were moving out a lot, and new people moving in. And sometimes people decide, oh, the apartment life's not for me, and they go back to living in a house. And sometimes they only took the apartment because they couldn't find a house, and as soon as they find one, they move out, and then you get new neighbors again. And almost every neighbor we had was highly noisy. And well, we moved out, but we moved out for different reasons. My sister moved out because her ex-husband was dying of cancer, and she wanted to take care of him. She still loved him, and she said, I'm going to take care of him. He needs me. And I didn't want to be there by myself, so I moved in with my son. I was there for a year, and I just had to get out of that place. I couldn't. Her husband died, and her ex-husband rather died, and she wanted to not live in Memphis anymore. He lived in Memphis, and it's not a good city to live in. Anyway, we both wanted out of our situation, so we decided. We had lived together previously from that for about, well, ever since my husband died in 2005, and she separated from her husband, and she came to live with me, and we lived together all that time. And then it was, well, I was there for a year, and then I moved back in here. I applied for another apartment. They were doing it online then. Before that, you had to go into the office and fill out a whole bunch of papers. But this time, they were doing it online. And they actually showed you the apartments that were available. And I saw that this one was available in building number 2. And I wanted to be in building number 2 because it's the only one that's completely 2-bedroom apartments. The other 2 buildings, 3 and 4, are mixed 2 and 3-bedroom apartments. 3 bedrooms brings more people, and especially more kids. And kids are noisy. And not that plenty of people don't have kids in 2 bedrooms, but I just figured more bedrooms, more kids. And we wanted upstairs because now we could have our groceries delivered, and we didn't have to worry about just going up and down the stairs. We don't do it that much unless we're going out to the doctor or to get medicine or something like that. We're just at home, and I'm doing dolls almost constantly. And so we don't have to go up and down the stairs every single day like that, So it's not such a hardship this time. Before I had a car, we were more active. We went out a lot. The stairs were like, and my health was going downhill because I was getting fatter and fatter, and I had congestive heart failure and all kinds of things. Well, I'm better now. So I can, long story short, I can make the stairs better. So we're upstairs to try to minimize the noise. Plus, it's way more pleasant upstairs. I mean, I'm not going to say you don't get any flies upstairs, but flies generally fly within 4 feet of the ground, so you don't get as many flies. Downstairs, every time you open your door, you get 10 flies in your house. Up here, you can leave the door open for 5 minutes and you get 1 fly. So, I mean, come on. It's not that bad. But anyway, we're going to get Jennie baked. And when we come back, we're going to do a little bit of this warm blush. I might put 2 coats on her. It's very, very light. I made it lighter than usual. But since I can dry it like this, it's doing a lot better of a job, I think. Her skin color is going to be phenomenal, I think. It's very better, much better than it is with 2 layers and you didn't dry it in between. I highly recommend the heat gun. Anyway, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And happy reborning.